Spark is a provincial network, and we would like to acknowledge the traditional Indigenous land on which we are so fortunate to create and partake in the arts. Our organization is situated in Ontario, which is covered by 46 treaties and other agreements, such as land purchases by the Crown signed between 1781 and 1930, as well as many, many unceded and disputed territories. What we now call Ontario is home to many Indigenous nations, First Nations peoples, the Métis and Inuit peoples, who have been the traditional caretakers of this land for many generations and who continue to live, work, create, and thrive here today. Hello, and welcome to Spark Peer-to-Peer Chats. I'm Rachel Marks, the Rezo Spark Network Executive Director. I am a middle-aged white woman with short blonde and pink hair. I'm wearing dark purple cat's eye glasses, dangling earrings with pressed flowers in them, and a brown sweater made by my mom. My pronouns are she and her. Today, I'm really looking forward to hearing from and speaking with Joanne Churchill from Ontario Presents on From Seed to Season. As a seasoned arts administrator, Joanne Churchill has dedicated her career to expanding opportunities for young audiences in the performing arts. Her work spans supporting touring artists and companies in schools and communities, developing inaugural education programs for performing arts centers, and consulting with independent artists, service organizations, and festivals. Joanne is a passionate advocate for delivering high quality professional arts and cultural experiences to early years children and youth. In her role as Special Project Manager at Ontario Presents and as project lead for the new Young Audience Presenter project, she is focused on revitalizing young audience engagement in rural, remote, and underserved communities across Ontario. Yes! Through tailored consultations, resource sharing, skills development, and network building, Joanne is helping to foster a vibrant future for young audience presentation. Before we begin, really quickly, if you have a question, just jump right in, and we'll also have a Q&A at the end. But now I just want to say welcome, Joanne, and over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for that introduction. And before I begin, I just wanted to extend my thanks and my gratitude for being invited to speak to the Spark community. I've been really looking forward to this. So thank you. As Rachel mentioned, my name is Joanne. I'm the Special Projects Manager at Ontario Presents, and I too am a middle-aged white woman wearing a black shirt, a patterned dress. I'm wearing black earrings, and I have somewhat unruly blondish hair, and I'm wearing gray glasses today. My pronouns are she and her. And I've been invited here today to talk about young audience presenting. Earlier, Rachel sent over some great questions. So I'm going to give a brief overview of the project and the resources that support YA presenting, and then we'll dive into Rachel's great questions. So firstly, I'm the project lead for an amazing program called the new Young Audience Presenter Project. Now, it's an amazing project with a not so amazing name. So if anyone has any gift for any snappy titles, drop me a line in the chat and I'd appreciate any advice that you could have. Now, the new Young Audience Presenter Project is generously funded by the Department of Canadian Heritage and was created to support new and emerging young audience presenters in rural, remote, and underserved communities. Now, this is a big project and one that needs long-term support, care, and commitment, because this type of development doesn't happen overnight, and not all folks are ready for the commitment it might take. So we're here to help to make the process more manageable and hopefully more sustainable in the long run. Basically, the project is a bespoke training program with resources and consultation that's very specific to the needs and the challenges of the participant and their community. So in some cases, I've worked with groups who want to bring artists to their community, but don't have the faintest idea of what to do first. I work also with others who have an adult series, but don't feel confident programming for children or building that new audience space. So each participant requires different professional development, resources, and support. So my very first task as this project lead is to listen and to learn and to really ask questions before anything else. I need to understand what the participants' aspirations are, what their barriers might be, and what challenges are facing them before I can support them on their presenting journey. Now, one of the key resources for the participants that the participants can lean on is an e-document called From Seed to Season: How to Grow as a New Young Audience Presenter. This e-document is what I like to call a toolkit or resource library that offers meaningful information, really practical resources for new or emerging young audience presenters. The document offers some great foundational context and then 9 practical strategies to help a volunteer presenter get from building leadership and a volunteer team to programming, from budgeting to marketing and everything in between. There's loads of checklists, task lists, and worksheets to help the reader through the various stages of building a presenting series from scratch. Now, depending on your previous experience in volunteer, your planning experience, and your leadership experience, some of this material in a document might be new, but for some others, it might be more familiar. Regardless of your level of experience and knowledge, rest assured that you don't need to accomplish everything in this e-document exactly as it's written. The resources are here to be used depending on the unique needs of each presenter, their audience, and community. So that's the end of my little spiel. So Rachel, would you like to ask some questions?
Fantastic. Thanks, Joanne. I do. I thought up some questions and brought forward some scenarios that I know from other folks that we've talked about in the past. So thanks so much for answering them. And here we go. The first one is, how can a new presenter get to know the diversity of work being presented? For example, how do they find artists?
Yeah, that's a tough one. But my very first suggestion would be connect with your own local artistic community. Local and regional collaboration is the best method of finding artists. For example, you can join a network or learn about what's happening in your own community. Maybe that's through an art council or a chamber of commerce, or connect with your local arts and culture municipal department in your own government. Or you can certainly join the Ontario Presents Network to learn about what's happening on a more provincial level. Now, Ontario Presents works in partnership with many smaller networks, such as the Community Presenters Network, the Ontario Classical Music Network, and the Northern Volunteer Network that works with adult volunteer presenters and young audience presenters. Now, this year, Ontario Presents is also hosting our 3rd annual virtual networking series, during which there'll be 3 full days of artist showcases between October 7th, 8th, and 9th. The series will highlight up to 40 artists from all different disciplines for you to see and explore in the comfort of your own home, on your laptop, or your computer. Additionally, Spark has its own small venue pitches, which offer another great opportunity to find artists that work for smaller halls. So those are some good ideas for you.
Those are great. Thanks, Joanne. And I have to say, in some ways, I think maybe for some of our starting presenters, some of these online showcases might feel a little more approachable. I think like
Mhm.
easier, not as financially um, uh, straining as going to another city. So that's great. So
Yeah,
thanks, Ontario
yeah,
Presents, for online. Okay. This is a great one. We're really, really big with this at Spark, and this is something that we always like to hear about because it inspires us. So, can you share a success story of a rural TYA presenter?
yeah. I'd love to. I actually been working with an organization called the Iroquois Falls Art Council. They are located in northeastern region of Ontario, very small community, and it is one of my very first participants to join this project. And I've been so impressed with their dedication and their commitment to creating something new for their community. I kind of use them as my gold standard. Now, Iroquois Falls was introduced to Ontario Presents and the New Young Audience Presenter Project because they themselves sat in on a Community Presenters Network meeting, just like I mentioned earlier. And one of the CPN members mentioned the new project that I was just starting at the time, and they learned about the New Young Audience Presenters. So in this case, connecting to an established network to learn more about what's going on in the broader perspective in Ontario really works for their favor. So they got in touch with me through Ontario Presents, and we started chatting about what they wanted to accomplish and how the project could support their aspirations. So we started working together on a monthly, actually a bi-monthly, and even monthly meetings to help craft what they wanted to build and how they wanted to accomplish their goals and what they needed to make all that happen. Because there's a lot of different steps. What one of the biggest, I think, accomplishments that they did really early on, and their best decision was to take their time and not rush into booking any artists and selling tickets right away, like many new presenters really want to do. They get so excited about the idea of starting. But instead, they spent a full year sitting in on the Northern Theatre for Young Audience Network that works in Northern, Eastern, and Western Ontario. And they sat in their conference calls and they learned a lot of different things. They learned about the process of presenting, which for some is for them was a brand new experience. They learned how the network books shows in within Ontario presents and the other networks. They learned the different kinds of programming for kids that are available out there for young audiences. And they learned about what other presenters are doing and also what they weren't doing, identifying successes and challenges. And so during this really important year, they learned a lot from their peers and they took the time to really build a leadership team. And this was so important. They spent a year to find volunteers because we all know how hard it is to find volunteers. They invested in building foundational elements for their organization, like defining what it means for them and their vision and mission. They spent time building role descriptions for their volunteers. So once they had those volunteers, they could give them something in writing and their parameters and expectations were clearly laid out. They spent time writing grants, developing budgets, all the different elements that are needed to really create a solid foundation for their presenting series. Since they took their time, they made thoughtful decisions, and now they are ready to book their first full season, which will be launching a series of 4 shows starting this fall. So I'm really proud of them and their efforts going forward, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds for them.
That's fantastic. We've had some really positive conversations and interactions with the folks at Iroquois Falls as well. They're a really enthusiastic and dedicated
Yeah.
team. So I'm so glad that this is the story you chose. What, wow, really wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so it comes down to this a lot of times. I'm going to ask about the money. What are the typical avenues of funding for touring for young audience presenters?
Mm, good question. Here's a big secret. Ticketing for young audience shows will never, ever cover the cost of a performance. And therefore, TYA presenters will always need multiple revenue sources. Nobody likes to hear that, but it's the truth. Now, here's a couple of funding avenues that might work for you. And I think Rachel's going to be putting them in the chat as well, some links for you. So first of all, there's the Ontario Arts Council, the Department of Canadian Heritage, through their Canadian Arts Presentation Fund. We call it CAPF. And also the Ontario Trillium Foundation. They all offer grants for these type of funding. But outside of the provincial and the federal funding, we often forget more local funding avenues, such as your local community foundations, or it's a great source to connect individual organizations at the community level with donors who wish to put forth their money at the local level. There's local municipal government agencies who give out grants, local commercial businesses who wish to broaden their brand awareness to your audience base and their families and children. So sometimes it's a great opportunity to ask for a donation or a gift in kind. But there's also a great opportunity to be a little bit more creative, to get more funding, things like special events, good old-fashioned bake sales, raffles, auctions. Make it fun, make it creative, bring in your community to let them know what you're doing. And sponsorships. This is a great opportunity to ask a local hotel for accommodations for your touring artists that can cut down on your expenses so you don't have to make all those big grants. or even ask a local restaurant or catering service to provide hospitality in exchange for free advertising and promotion and all your print materials and socials. So those are some ideas to kind of gain into the funding world.
That's great. Thank you so much. I think it's always a big concern for folks when they're starting
Yeah,
out.
it is.
Yeah, but mentioning those community ones, thank you so much for that because we
Yeah,
often rely on them for our community social service groups, I mean,
yeah.
or for schools. So it is a
Mhm,
natural progression. So thanks for bringing that up.
mhm,
Okay, this one is a story that someone has asked me, and I think it's an important one. So it is, how can I pass the torch? How do I
mhm,
segue myself out of this position and welcome someone new in?
mhm. That's a big question too. And young audience presenting groups often build their volunteer core from a base of parents who have small children and want to create opportunities for that age group. But often these same volunteers transition out of their position as soon as their children get a little older and they move on to different activities. Now, we call this the aging out process. And it's very difficult because these volunteers often have lots of organizational history stored in their brain and not always written down. So understanding this big issue with many presenters, the project that I'm working on, the new Young Audience Presenter Project with the horrible title, also works alongside some more established groups to help pass the torch. We have created a mini program called the Organizational Success Program, in which deals with this very interesting and important issue. And in that kind of mini program, we again have lots of resources, checklists, and templates that can be used to help you create a plan of action to welcome someone new into your group. What it's kind of like is I've tried to do all the heavy lifting. So all the big thinking and putting things together. So when I work with somebody who's has limited time and capacity because they're a volunteer working a job as yeah, is a parent, taking care of all sorts of things that you normally have in your regular day life, adding to this type of planning, making sure somebody is ready to step in on your behalf when you're ready to leave is a big deal. So I've tried to do a lot of work to make this an easy progression. So it's not really succession planning, but it's more of practical toolkit for folks who want to document their processes and tasks. So it's easier for the next generation of volunteers to pick up where the last person is off. It's kind of making a the big book, the almost the Bible, as you could say, to pass on to the next group, and so they can use that. And then it's also a working document, a document that can keep on growing as your organization grows. New information can be added to it because your organization is never stagnant. Stagnant is always growing, and new elements are always being put forth. So that's another way that we can help with passing the torch.
That's really fantastic. So many
Yeah,
organizations really falter
yeah,
when their volunteers age out, and it is very difficult when you have that like you said that organizational knowledge in your
yeah.
brain, and you don't have time to get
Nobody has the time.
yeah, because they're too busy doing it to write about
Yeah,
it. So,
yeah.
oh, I can see that being so very useful. Wow.
It is. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's interesting watching the folks who have been doing it. I've been working with some presenters who've been doing the same thing for 25, 30 years and pretty much a volunteer group of one or two. And so that's a vast institutional knowledge. And the biggest job is getting it from here down onto the page so it can be passed off to the next person. And it's a lot of memory and it's a lot of experience and care that they want to bring forth. But it's a hard and sometimes it's a lengthy process.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's almost like curating their knowledge too, like
Yeah,
trying to remember, oh, I actually do this as well. Oh, wait a minute,
yeah,
there's that. Oh, but is that
Yeah.
important? Yes, it's
But
important.
it's things like you don't think it's important, but it's really important. Like, what is your banking information?
Yeah, yeah, of
You
course.
know, you have that in here, like, but it's simple, very, very simple things like that that you wouldn't think to like write it down and pass it on. Or what is your login number for your Ontario Arts Council grant portal? Just, I mean, these are the like the things that we kind of break down and we work through and we talk through. It's a lot of just chatting and drawing that information out because it's different for every single organization. It's different. No two organizations are the same, and everyone will have a different process and a different type of documentation. It's fascinating.
Yeah, 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 that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, this is my last question. And this is another one that has been asked to me before at various Spark events. And that is, we want something new, but we don't engage in block booking because we're so
Mhm.
small. How do we
Mhm.
entice an artist to a rural or remote area?
Yeah. That is an excellent question, and it's a bit tricky because block booking isn't mandatory. And I say this, but it sometimes is the best choice depending on the situation. So, as we all know, some artists will still reject an offer to perform because it's just financially unviable to travel a great distance just for one show. But on the other hand, a small presenter with a very small venue may not feel ready to be part of this block booking process because they think it's only for big venues and high artist fees. But I'm here to say that block booking just means one thing. It means folks working together, they're collaborating and making decisions in consensus. So you can be block booking in a small group of maybe 3 or 4 other organizations who want to work together. For example, the Northern Theatre for Young Audience Network, which represents small communities in Northern Ontario, all run by volunteers, only book about 5 or 6 shows in the North in a year. And not all of those, and there's about 11 presenters in that network, and not all of them will book all those shows. Not all of them will book all the 6 tours, and some might only book 2. Some only might book 3 shows. And sometimes they might book somebody from their own regional area or local performing arts group to fill in some of the spaces that are not filled in by the tour. And the reason block booking works, even if it's on a smaller scale, is because it can help minimize the artist fees. It can help encourage artists to tour a region otherwise undesirable because of geography or finances, and encourages the block to pool resources and knowledge together. So if you're looking to join an OP community or network, feel free to reach out to me and I can help you get connected. My email will be in the chat. And better yet, if you have folks in your region who want to start a small version of block booking and start networking together and use pooling your resources and pooling your knowledge and connecting with each other, contact me and I can help you get started as well. And it'll be interesting to see because quite often there's more people with like-minded desires and aspirations as yourself, but they're all in different communities that are adjacent but not yet communicating. So sometimes something can actually help.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, sometimes it can be, we have new presenters saying like, what is block booking? And then,
Yeah.
you explain, oh, it's people working together and sharing
Yeah.
knowledge and fees and
Yeah.
creating a tour for an artist that,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh,
Oh,
wow.
I can do that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it really sort of opens doors, right?
Yeah, a lot of some of the partner networks that Ontario Presents works with do some, and we partner with and we support in other ways. They sometimes do their own block booking, and they do it all independently. And the group up in the north on the adult volunteer presenting group, they do it all on their own. They get together a couple times a year and they look at all the different shows that they're interested in. Tends to be very folk music oriented, and they do it on their own. They, work together. They arrange to have a tour, come through 5 or 6 of their festivals and communities, and yeah. It can be done all by themselves, or if you also happen to have a good understanding of your own local art community, there's nothing to say that you can't bring individual artists into your own venue and share that wealth of information with others.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Joanne.
Mhm.
Um, I think, and I heard you say before, and I agree, and that is when we start our audiences young, we build our audience for life, right? And
Yeah.
we're encouraging the arts at every age. So I really appreciate the work you're doing in encouraging young audience presenters because we do need the arts for kids and youth,
Yeah.
especially in our rural areas where it might not
Mhm.
be as easy to go to young people's theater or,
Yeah.
carousel players or something. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank
Well,
you.
I find that the work that I'm doing up in North, especially, is the folks that I'm working with there, if they aren't doing the work, nobody else is. And if they're not bringing in the professional artists to their communities, and we're talking like Red Lake, Northern Ontario, Sioux Lookout, Geraldton, communities of under 2,000 souls, right? If they didn't do that work, which is really cultural development, right? Audience building and cultural development of their communities, nobody else would, and they wouldn't have these opportunities. They wouldn't have, dance come through, or puppetry and storytelling and theater and music and all these great opportunities for children's imaginations to go all different places. And so yeah, I feel really privileged to be part of this experience.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm just going to quickly shoot out to our audience. Isa, do you have any questions?
Hi. I really enjoyed this presentation. Although I'm a visual artist, and I do sometimes go into schools and help. I feel that sometimes it's that those connections that you make that can lead to further opportunities down the road. I work mostly with the Francophone community. Ontario Presents, I was looking at the website, doesn't seem like there's a French component or no way.
No, we're not a bilingual organization, and I honestly have to admit that. Although some of the work that we present, actually for young audiences, tends to be have the more options for French language. The reason being is in Quebec, there's a lot of touring artists who are obviously can speak both languages or have nonverbal performances, and so a lot of some if you look at some of our old showcases, you'll notice some work for young audiences that are either bilingual or francophone, entirely French language based. So there's a little bit of that, but I do acknowledge that there could be a little bit more that could be done in that French language. But have you ever connected with Réseau Ontario?
I no, I believe that it is the Francophone version of what you're doing, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it is kind of like the sister organization, and they have an incredible connection with the Francophone artists who work in Ontario. And all their presenters and all the communities that are welcoming artists into their communities with their Francophone artists. So I don't actually, I don't remember their email address right away, but I'll
That's
make
okay.
sure that that information is forwarded to Rachel, and then you can kind of check them out a little bit.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Great. I can definitely connect you with Rezo Ontario too. They're great folks over there, and you're right. They do some really fantastic
Mhm.
programming as well, and
Mhm.
support for their artists and presenters. So yes, we'll add that to the links At the end, if you're watching on social media, all of the links that we've put in the chat, we will be putting on a screen at the end of our presentation. And then you can also email me and I will make sure that you get those and or get connected with Joanne, because I think that's the ultimate goal in this situation. So, um, Joanne, thank you so much. This has been great. I do have to admit to a small bias in that I come from theater for young audiences. I cut my teeth there as a young arts lover and stage manager, and so I've seen the impact that it has on audiences. So thank you for continuing this work. It's very important. And then I also want to say you brought up the Community Presenters Network, and yes, I do want to make a pitch for the small venue pitch sessions. Applications are now open for artists until the 30th of June. You can find those on Ontario Presents social media, on our social media. You can email me or Eric, and we'll make sure that you get that. And it's very similar to Ontario Presents, but we have 30 artists over 3 nights. And it's also online, so you don't have to worry about travel costs. So, yeah, Eric's done a great job.
Virtual is the way to go.
Yeah. So thank you so much again, and also we will be having a session with the CPN in the summer as a peer-to-peer chat. But next month is with Erica May Wood, an amazing producer and artist, and it's about keeping the creative spark when we are leaders and presenters and producers ourselves. So that'll be really interesting. So hopefully we'll see you there next month. Again, Joanne, thank you so much. Really love.
Well, thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks.